Hi, my name's Anna Whitehouse and I'm a ceramic artist based in Harrogate in North Yorkshire, and this is my North Yorkshire Open Studios 2020 online edition. I had lots of work on the go. I had an art in residency at Harrogate College where I was developing some new work, and I also had a large public commission at the Himalayan Garden Sculpture Park in Grawthorpe. Now, all of these have obviously come to a shuddering halt, so instead we are going to go back in time to June 2019, last year, after I just finished Open Studios, to show you around my 100 bottle project. My name's Anna Whitehouse and I'm a ceramic artist based in Harrogate, North Yorkshire. This is normally my living room, but I transformed it over the last few weekends into a gallery space because I was taking part in North Yorkshire Open Studios. It allows people to go around artist studios and see behind the scenes, see their work they're producing. We also see sketchbooks and other things that are there that interest people. And this year I put together on display my 100 bottle project. So last year in January the 1st, I started a project to make one bottle a day for 100 days. And I had sketchbooks full of ideas, years worth of stuff that I had not had time to really look at and explore fully. I was taking maybe 2 weeks to make a piece of work. You're not really going to take risks on that. It's far too precious to possibly muck it up. So I knew I needed a sort of period of focus, but to be able to produce a form very quickly every day. So I had a 2-part press mould, which I could make a blank bottle form as my blank canvas every morning. And then it was a case of choosing something out my sketchbooks to have a go. What's really nice being able to put them all up, the exhibition in chronological order, is I can start to see where I've worked through an idea over a few days, or I've started to make connections with pieces from 1 week, and then maybe weeks later I've clearly come back to the idea. It's been sat in the back of my head until I've come back to explore it again. Being able to produce the form quickly, but also because there was another one the next day, meant that I could take a bottle, and if I felt like taking a hacksaw to it just to see what happened, then I could. I was like, well, if it goes wrong, there's another one tomorrow, it doesn't matter. So it really freed up my making and allowed me to explore those years of ideas very quickly in a focused space. I chose the bottle form as my blank canvas because I already had that mould from a previous project. So it was trying to find something that I already had that I could very quickly produce in a day. If the bottles had been any larger, I would not have been able to finish them in a day. And if they were too small, I wouldn't have really been able to see the surface at that point. I needed to have something the right size that I was going to get the visual information that I needed. These are technically textiles, but I don't make flat work, so there was no point in me making flat textiles. I needed a 3D form to see how those textures related around a bottle shape. Challenges that I found through the project was balancing it with my day-to-day work. I would be producing a piece sometimes at 9 o'clock at night after I finished a full day of teaching, which at the beginning of the project, it was January, it was still the holidays, so it didn't matter. But then I was starting to teach again. I did a large project at my old school in Harrogate as well. So it was the time management. There was sometimes that I didn't finish till sort of 4 or 5 in the morning because one of the rules was I could not go to sleep till I finished it. And there were many times I thought, what am I doing? But it was a self-imposed project. It was, if I'd stopped, it would have broken the bubble. I would have lost the momentum, and being able to touch clay every day. I'd found that I had got to a point of probably spending 80% of my time doing admin and only 20% making. And even though I was doing other things during the day, being able to touch clay every day and really work through an idea and a focus really helped with pushing my practice. People over the last 2 weekends at my exhibition were asking if I could if I ever ran out of ideas, and if there was, obviously I put those rules in place for myself in terms of producing it in a day and looking at my sketchbooks. But I never ran out of ideas. I was sleep deprived towards the end of it, but I could have gone on for another 100 days. And for them, they want to see what's next, because this was experimental to work towards a new collection of work, which I've not had time to do because I've had other projects on again. They were also asking if there was any I didn't like, and there are some that I think are more successful than others, which was the whole reason I was doing it. And I knew that at the end of the 100 days, I would have 100 bits of information. There was no way of doing this project wrong. I could have worked out 100 ways not to do something, but I've learnt that. And there are bottles that didn't always succeed. There's one behind me on this shelf that, while I was working on it, it cracked and it was just drying too much and I lost a few pieces. But the following day, I was able to make something far more intricate because I'd learnt from the bottle on the previous day. So it was pushing my making, pushing my skills at the same time as, you know, exploring all those textures that I wanted to do. So this exhibition was the end of showing the whole bottle project together, and people from all over the world have connected with the project and have wanted to buy them, which I never expected. These were experimental pieces, and at first I didn't know if I was going to sell them. So I'm now in the process of taking things down. There's a few gaps here already, people that have collected their bottles, and there's been able to have them in the room for the last 2 weeks. I don't normally have this space to be able to see them all. So for me, having them all out, I was able to get things down and remind myself, it's been over a year since I'd made them, but I was starting to look at the textures again and make some notes before they all disappear. There are pieces that I've produced. I really enjoy the bottle form and the play between a man-made object and natural forms and how they can sit within a piece. So I've been pulling some of my favourite textures over the last year and starting to layer them up on the same piece and see where that goes. I needed to find something to package all these bottles in. With some of them going overseas, they need to be safe when they go in the post. And I am so against buying new packaging to do a job which would then just end up in landfill. So I was trying to find something that already existed that I could upcycle. And could I create packaging that people want to throw away? Could I actually make it part of the piece? So I found these at a scrap store in Leeds, and businesses, things that would normally go to landfill, they donate. It's a charity organisation. A lot of schools use it, so they're picking things up for the kids to do craft with or outdoor play with. And these used to be architects' plan tubes. They were 5 foot long, and I chopped them down, and they had all their architectural plans in. And I've managed to keep the original lids and the string, put my logo on, and they all were labelled up with numbers as well. And you can see where the original label used to be. So I've been able to put the corresponding numbers of the bottles onto the pieces and hopefully get them safely to everyone. A lot of people over the weekends have asked what my favourite piece is, and I've had to say I don't know. It changes all the time. So because they are my library, my visual library of pieces, work that I've now produced since the project, I have pulled out favourite textures. So depending on what I'm working on that particular day, I use a particular bottle as my reference point, so it changes all the time. But that is something that I really want to push next, is making large pieces and pulling in all of this source material that I've accumulated. I've been doing quite a lot of garden sculptures recently. I've just put 2 in at the Himalayan Gardens and Sculpture Park in Grulthorpe. So going from very small bottle forms, and these are sort of 2 foot diameter spheres, again covered in pollen grains from scanning electron microscope images, so still using my same source material, but on a much larger scale. It's been fantastic having people over the last 2 weekends to see the project. They've been seeing it mainly online, so for them to be able to see the bottles up close and be able to handle them. And for that audience, they have been supporting me over the last 9-10 years, certainly through Open Studios and coming here, visiting me and purchasing my previous body of work. For them to have engaged with the new work, no one said, "I prefer your old body of work." So I see that as a really good step for the future, that I'm on something that, one, I really enjoy making, but people are also enjoying and purchasing. I would finish a bottle every night, or sometimes, like I said, early hours in the morning, and I would take my phone camera, I would take a quick snap of it and put it online. And it was so that I had a visual record of the project, but also so that I was accountable. I was putting it out there in the public, so I couldn't skip a day. But I felt like they needed some sort of name, but again, to remind myself these weren't precious pieces, rather than naming them after what I was looking at, so corals or pollen grains. I purposely chose something really mundane that happened that day, almost like a diary entry, so that the last thing I did at night was name them after, for example, cat climbs cheese plant or plaster disaster narrowly avoided. It was just something that happened that day. And so when I woke up in the morning, it was making sure that I would still take risks the following day. As soon as you give a piece a name, it becomes something more, it becomes something precious. And I knew how my brain worked. So again, just always reminding myself to take the risks and to really free up my making, I knew was really integral to the success of this project.
I hope you enjoyed seeing my 100 bottle project and enjoyed the time travel. It seems like a different world now, doesn't it? All the bottles that are still available are up on my website for you to browse and purchase if anything catches your eye. There's also a selection of hanging planters, which I found in a box during a studio clear out at the beginning of lockdown. So they are all up there as well to browse. I offer free UK shipping, and I can also ship internationally. Last year, I also produced my first ever book, which is a record of the project, showing all 100 bottles larger than life in chronological order, thanks to the wonderful skills of photographer David Lindsay and also graphic designer Matthew Whittington. I also produced a poster, again showing them the bottles in chronological order, and it's strange, these have ended up on classroom walls all over the world, which has been incredible to see, but they are also available on my website shop for you to purchase.